She is the most beautiful woman in the town, but she is labeled as the dirtiest person in the world. Countless guests come to see her, only to enjoy the warmth of spending the night with her. Her life is so boring, and she is like a flower blooming in the deep night. She has been torturing her soul and spirit for a long time, and even she thinks that she deserves to be an ant in the mud. Even if there is a heart that wants to break free from the cage, she doesn't dare to believe that she can escape from the fate of the doomed. The only activity that she can release her soul is to stare at the people outside the window, which is close to the old age. These people are so sad, and they are crying and blushing. The beginning of her tragic fate comes from her childhood, which was so warm and happy. Before she was 7 years old, her life was like a treasure in a dream. Her mother named her Angel, which means that her future can be as amazing as an angel. But all the good wishes and the cold reality will only turn into a stream of black fog. Her mother's wish comes from the anxiety about real life. Her stepdaughter's birth is a mark that can never be erased. This indirectly led to a little angel, who was born with a high IQ, but only briefly enjoyed the love of pretending to be a man. Since the day she died, she has never seen her father. In order to comfort Angela's young soul, her mother always said that her father was just busy with work. One day she will get angry and come back here to pick them up. Angela, who has been with this lie, has been hoping that this may happen at any time. Until the age of 8, she finally saw her father, who only appeared in her dreams. But it was different from what she expected. Her father's appearance was not to make up for her childhood, which was like a blank page, but to force her mother to sweep her up. Angela, who did not understand, still dreamed of the long-awaited father's love, but was humiliated by the palace. In her eyes, this girl with her own blood is just a woman who uses it to cover up her distorted property. In fact, she has never left the town for half a step in these years. But she has never thought of seeing her own flesh and blood. Angela, who was disliked by her father, is like a butterfly with its wings broken. She no longer has illusions about the family she described to her mother, and even doubts that, as long as she disappears, her father can change his mind about her mother. Her mother noticed her sensitivity, so she made up her mind to take her away from this cold-blooded man. But it was not easy to return to the countryside. But she accidentally found all the gold and jewelry the palace gave her. They are all cheap glass products. The blow of reality makes a woman who has loved a man for a lifetime exhausted, and even falls on a sick bed once and cannot breathe, but is forced to survive. She who has no survival skills can only drag the sick body and be forced to work again.
But the long-term physical torture, plus the long-term illness, makes her body weaker and even often shows symptoms of bleeding.
Unable to change all this, Angela can only hold her mother's cross and necklace, and pray to fate for a little miracle to come to them. But, unfortunately, this good luck did not have a special favor on the mother and daughter, who only wanted to live. The young Angela is not the angel that her mother looked forward to. She can only watch her mother with tears in her eyes and close on hers forever. Until then, Angela, who used to look forward to happiness and stay by her side, no longer had expectations for life. She ran to the river where her mother died and put the last prayer necklace into the river. She decided to turn this unfair and cold life with her own small strength. However, the moon will not be round forever, and the clouds in the sky will sometimes block the sun. Since her mother died, Angela has been like a pugong eagle that has been detached from its roots and has started a long wandering life. Fortunately, a kind palace appeared and gave her the light of hope. She thought she had finally come to the bitter end, but she never thought that this was just the beginning of her nightmare life. After that day, Angela became a daughter in the name of a man. She was arranged to study and learn with her stepmother, only to earn the Duke's face in front of outsiders. But when she came home, she was just a pet raised by a man, and she needed to be served as a master by the Duke, and even let him trample her. In this way, little Angela suffered in despair and torture for 10 years. She lived in the most annoying way, but the response she gave could only be numb and accept.
Fortunately, the opposite of her terrible life is that God gave her a dignified and dignified and dignified and dignified.
And at the age of 16, she arranged a reunion with her father again, as if it were distant. But now the man who saved her does not remember the existence of Angela. Listening to the man's continued flirting, a revenge play based on despair is more clear in Angela's mind. She tricked the man into her room and used her precious body as a chair to destroy the man's high self-esteem. The man, who learned the truth later, seemed to be a mouse caught by a cat. In order to maintain his reputation, he had to end his playboy life in endless repentance, and the wishful Angela also took advantage of the sight to escape from this palace like an abyss. At the age of 16, she fulfilled her promise made by the river. Now she just wants to change the city and start her own life again. However, the road to the door of happiness is too far and too difficult. She went to the cruise ship in California to help two farmers who could no longer afford to eat, but she accidentally exposed her wealth, stolen from the palace. The moment of human evil was so close. She was not only robbed of all her savings by those two ungrateful women, but also sold to the local people as if she were a waste of garbage. The most inhuman woman thought that she could live a peaceful life after she took revenge and left the palace. But when she tore the cloud apart, she felt that the distance from the sun was not only the sea of mountains, but also the vast sky that could not be touched by the border. After that day, Angela completely had into a dead end. Every beast based on her body, childhood shadows and recent years of experience made her clearer than anyone else that fate is an unsolvable curse. She no longer believed that she would see the so-called hope in the light. When she left here, she also did not believe that someone would be willing to save her destiny. But even the endless night would always have a worry as her embellishment. Just when she was desperate, a man who had nothing to do with her accidentally broke into her life.
The man's name is Mike, a small-time farmer from California. He is also a devoted believer in God.
He is a pure and simple man, and he goes to church to pray every now and then. He hopes that this year will be a good year, and his crops can grow well.
But such a diligent, simple and kind man hides an unbearable secret in his heart.
He is nearly 70 years old, and has always hoped to meet a girl whose soul follows the touch. For this he refused all the marriage proposals. He hopes that God will let him meet his true love soon for the sake of his devotion. On the same day, when he was delivering food in the town, he happened to meet Angela, who was taken out by the bodyguard. This is a jump in the crowd. She fell in love with this girl. With a sense of broken heart, a friend who delivered the goods saw Donnie. She wisely persuaded the man not to get involved with Angela. She would only empty Mike's wallet, not meet the man's true emotional needs. But at this time, Mike could not hear the persuasion. He is sure that the appearance of a woman is a friendly talk of God's faith in her future.
In this chaotic world, Angela's special identity is not to block her from feeling her emotions.
She only cares about whether her heart, which should see her but cannot calm down, has really found the ideal she has been longing for. The next day, Mike found Angela with enough money. She has no other request but to feel for herself if this heart that is suddenly beating wildly is really throbbing for Angela. And Angela, who saw Mike, thought that Mike and the group of animals outside were the same person. She was lying in bed and used the most insolent words to provoke Mike, who looked down. She can't remember how many men she has said these words to. Now every time she says it, she feels nauseous and nauseous. It's like she's begging her to let go of herself, but it still can't change.
Those wolves spread to her body like hunting. Mike, who is delicate in his thoughts, clearly noticed Angela's true mood.
If the previous her still exists in the test of the heart, then the present her is already fully convinced that Angela is her own angel. She has the courage to tell the woman that she will not only touch her,
but also prepare everything for her to redeem herself and give her a happy second half. These words made Angela laugh.
It's like she heard some unrealistic joke. She told Mike, "Come here, don't pretend to be high. We are aunties living in the ditch, and we are all miserable. If you want it, take it. If you don't want it, don't delay her business." She didn't believe anyone would fall in love with her like a scrap of scrap. She didn't expect anyone to do anything for her, and she was willing to be gossiped by outsiders. This is the protective collar that she forms after being hurt. Although she was too cold and heartless, she was not hurt by the expectation. But soon Mike, who was pushed out, turned back. This time, he spent double the price to buy a ticket, but he still didn't have any feelings for her. He just sat in Angela's bed and talked about the sunset from the sunrise. He described the day of a farmer in detail. This slightly evoked Angela's fantasy of a peaceful life, but it just disappeared until Mike looked into her eyes and said his sincere confession. "Let me get you out of this place." The killing power of this sentence is undoubtedly the best medicine for a little girl who asks for a hand in a falling well. She saw the fire of hope in Mike's sincere eyes. For a moment, she really wanted to turn into a flying moth that was about to be set on fire and risk her life for the last time. But this idea just came and went and was hit by the rain many times. Even if she still has high expectations for the sky, she only dares to hide in a small nest where she is piled up with branches, avoiding the cold damage to come again. "I feel nothing for you. Absolutely nothing. You're a dirt farmer." Angela's cold answer stimulated Mike, who had a strong sense of self-esteem. A person like her, who can enjoy the red power in the era of Tato Jinru, but is willing to sacrifice her life for a peaceful job, in order to avoid the chance of revenge. For a night, what qualifications does a golden sparrow with a capitalist hand? She, who thought it through, had to be alone, turned away from this sad birdcage and looked at her leaving back. The woman only felt a pain that was perhaps more heartbreaking than Mike's, the happiness she had longed for. Cecile told her finally came to her hand, but she had to give up, because of the thorns on the rose. She can't earn her own happiness, and she may not want to pass on the bad luck to everyone who cares about her. However, she really underestimated Mike's true heart for her when she met Mike again. The next day, her stubborn heart was torn apart completely, so that after she finished talking to the man, she took up the courage to find the question of the boss's probe. How much gold can I exchange for my freedom? In order to make her give up the idea of leaving, she continued to make money for herself. Many women came to beat Angela and tortured her for a night. But no matter how cruel the other party's means are, the greedy cry, baby Angela didn't bow her head to them. Mike, who got the news, broke into the tavern. Regardless of everything, Angela, who was lying in bed, twisted her heart like a tightrope. But even if Angela was like this, the heartless boss still asked Mike to pay to stay here. Mike, who heard this, decided to take out the money he was going to buy in the coming year in order to get Angela out of this heartless abyss as soon as possible. But in the meantime, he still gave Angela two choices. After she went home with her and recovered, she could choose to leave and go to a place where no one knew her. She could start a new life and choose to marry herself. She would use her life to heal the wounds she had suffered over the years. Facing the man's sincere and respectful confession, Angela hesitated again and again and chose the second way. Maybe she also hoped that one day she could really break the curse that surrounded her life and meet such a man who truly loved her. And Mike, in order to make the woman believe in himself, he gave the ring his mother left him to the woman and promised
DDT would never let Angela suffer any more grievances in the future. However, the woman's heart had already been broken.
As time went by, the broken Angela felt that everything she had now was full of unrealistic illusions.
the more Mike cared about her, the less she dared to reveal the scars in her heart and open up her heart to the man. So one day, when Mike was out working as usual, the anguished Angela still made up her mind. She put the ring that had recorded the beginning of their love on the table, and then set off without hesitation. Past Mike, who noticed, hurriedly followed the woman's footsteps. He could see that the man's Angela was deliberately walking fast, and even used force to break Mike's desire to persuade her to go back. But Mike was not as angry as the woman had expected, but a bag of packed supplements. Until now, the loss of pain has already been on his heart. Mike hopes to give Angela the right to choose freedom. Angela, who felt this love, stood still in silence and fell into a deep thought. Since the day she was born, no one has ever respected her, will so much except her mother. At this moment, the foot she wanted to step forward was no longer as firm as before. At night, she returned to Mike's farm and made up her mind to make a fire again. When she saw Mike, she didn't say much, just brought Anna some food prepared in advance, and gave her a hot bath to wash away the tiredness of the woman for a day. This scene made Angela's heart swell with a warm stream. She asked Mike, "Is it really worth it?" Mike had just smiled and replied, "She knows that the road in this night is more difficult than the unknown. 60 miles." This sentence completely broke the last doubt in the woman's heart. She secretly swore in her heart that no matter how difficult this road was, she would hold this happiness in her hands. After that day, Angela removed her complex makeup and became the mistress of Mike's family. They would share the farm work together, eat shrimp together, and go fishing and have fun by the river. Ordinary little days were played by the two of them. Angela liked to wait for the sun to rise at Channel.
This is an interest she has built up since the day she was a wanderer.
She said that only when she saw the sun rise in the clear sky, she could feel the happiness of being enchanted by hope. This sentence is deeply engraved in the heart of a man. When the sun rises, she will take Angela to the top of the mountain to feel the hope that the woman said. She told Angela that she didn't care about her past, but only cared about what kind of life she would have next. Although she can't do anything like the sun, she will definitely use everything she can to interpret the shape of love for Angela. Although there is no emotional disappearance in this paragraph, it is like the broken light at this moment that shattered the darkness that shrouded Angela's heart. A girl who is extremely disappointed with her emotions, completely let go of her fear of life under the sun.
Just go back to the first sentence.
The moon will never be wrong, and the silver in the sky will sometimes cover the sun. When Angela made up her mind to become a part of Mike's life, an uninvited guest appeared and broke all their fantasies. To visit Mike's brother-in-law Paul. At a glance, he recognized that this so-called sister-in-law was once the most romantic flower girl in the town. As a distant relative of a man, he thought about his future life. where he would be bullied by his neighbors. So he resolutely resisted Mike's emotional sacrifice on the woman. Paul's words obviously angered Mike, who has always been a temperamental person. He can't accept others to intervene in his relationship with Angela. The gossip in the outside world won't be a sword that kills him. Even if he has to live in ridicule for the rest of his life, he will still love Angela with all his heart, in an awkward and hideous way. Paul, who is not giving up, refused to persuade Mike, so he pointed his spear at Angela. He used the most fierce kiss to dig into the past of the woman. This made Angela, who was sensitive, mistaken that this was what Mike asked her to convey. Gradually, she began to worry that her existence would also bring the same unerasable scars to men. After a long time, she, who was already in fear, began to doubt that she was not good enough for Mike. After a few days of thinking, she finally chose to accept Paul's advice and set off on her own way. However, the fog was blinding and the rain was pouring. She, who finally came to the town, fell into a new love again. Fortunately, Mike rushed to her in time and saved her from danger. On the way back, the man did not ask Angela the real reason for her departure. He, who is not good at words, did not know what to say to persuade the woman to put down the bottom line in heart. He could only blame himself for not being able to protect her. In the dark night, he hid in the stable and cried secretly. Seeing this scene, Angela regretted and felt guilty. Long-term getting along has already made her believe that Mike is her lover. But the long-suffering Kylan made her dare not reveal her true heart. She could only pretend to ignore the man's feelings for her. Angela, who thought through all this, jumped into the cold river and used her greatest strength to wash her skin over and over again. She wanted to get rid of her dirty stains in this way, but she failed. She put herself in continuous danger again. Fortunately, Mike, who heard the voice, arrived in time. Angela was saved from danger under the comfort of Mike. The woman's emotions finally had a smooth trend. Mike used to like to express his feelings with a heart, but today he changed to Angela. He put all the sad childhood he had not been able to talk to men about and went out. Mike also used his own future plan to heal Angela's sensitive and fragile heart. After recovering from the long-awaited trauma, Mike took Angela back to the farm and continued their ordinary and warm, happy life. The next day, they saved a pregnant woman who was about to give birth. On the side of the road, Mike was full of a smile of envy. But Angela, who had seen everything, was in a state of uncontrollable acidity. The experience of these years has long deprived her of the possibility of becoming a mother. She can create a happy family for her beloved man. She is also destined to give them love in the future. But Mike doesn't care about it. He told Angela that there was nothing in this world that could stop her from loving him. If she didn't have the luck to be a father in this life, she could have become a better husband with more time. However, these words did not effectively heal Angela's sensitivity as before. The reality hit Angela's heart close to death. She began to doubt whether she could bring Mike happiness until the pregnant woman who had been saved came to thank her daughter. She realized what a real man is like. After simply testing the woman and having a love for Mike, Angela decided to leave a farewell letter and a ring that carries the love of two people. She hopes Mike to pursue true happiness instead of continuing to die with a person like her. Sanamuna's previous departure was caused by self-abasement. This time, her departure can be determined. It's also because of this love that she found that she could not give Mike true happiness and could only choose to run away as before and use her disappearance to exchange for the happiness that might happen to Mike. To Mike in the second half of his life, Mike did not choose to pursue Angela. He understood that his repeated return would only become a moral kidnapping on the woman's feelings. The true love is the true nature of the two people's sincere and honest feelings. This time, he chose to leave the path of the soul-releasing journey to Angela. As for her, she will always stay on this land and wait for her owner to return to the earth.
Angela, who left, ran to the old mountain, thousands of miles away alone.
Thus she did not know whether it was a deliberate arrangement of fate or her own intention. She was again treated in the Duke's mansion. She was even told that the prisoner who let her go had been executed. This made Angela's heart seem to have fallen into the endless abyss. And at the Duke's mansion, Angela met two little girls and seemed to see her former self. In order to make the Duke not hurt them like he hurt himself, Angela promised to return to the Duke and continue to serve him like a dog. At night, she was taken to an auction in the name of the Duke's concubine. But in the process of speech, she remembered the encouragement she received before her mother died. She could no longer accept herself as a slave to anyone. So she gathered up her courage and exposed the crimes of men in front of everyone. He has 2 little girls. He has 2 locked away upstairs right now. He abuses us until we do anything to survive. I escaped when I was Shiqi, but he found me and he forced me here. Her generous confession caused a lot of discussion. The Duke, who was exposed, could only force her to be dragged back to his room and prepare to end this drama with her life. Fortunately, the Black Police Chief, who was just at the scene, saved her in time and let Angela grab the chance to escape. He also saved the 2 girls, who were as lucky as him. The Duke was also angry because of this. He was hanged by those who had long hated him in his own palace that he had carefully built.